Okay, so Baruch Hashem, we're here. Everybody's looking at my nose in this camera right here. Thank God. Hopefully, it's not going to embarrass my wife later on. So this is Tehillim. You guys know I've been pounding the table, so to speak, that we should all know what this is and have a real connection to this book. It's Rabbi Nachman says that for all the advice that you need to overcome all of your difficulties in your life is all in Tehillim. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's all in. I didn't know you guys could see me sweating. I thought it was just coming out of my head. Okay, so Tehillim. We did the first chapter together. And if you were there for it, or if you got to hear it afterwards, you should listen again. If you didn't hear it, you should listen again if you did hear it. Everything is in the first chapter of Tehillim. The way that it works with the Torah and Tehillim and life is that everything is included in the beginning. The way something starts contains its middle and its end. So, for instance, let's say, you just started a diet, okay? You just started going to the gym. So you know how you feel really amped up in the beginning to do your thing, your friends convinced you and they're like, yeah, there's this new diet, there's this new thing, or there's this, right? Or maybe it's less physical, it's more spiritual. You said you're going to say Tehillim every day, and right? So you start like that, and then you're oh, and then it stops, right? You don't feel as juiced up anymore, after, you get into a fight with your family, or your husband, or your parents, or you just feel bad about yourself, or you didn't get a good night's sleep, and all of a sudden you're just not as excited anymore about the thing, and you stop. Or you continue angrily. So Rabbi Nachman says, start over again. How often should you start over your thing? Every day. Even if you started the diet already. Even if you started saying Tehillim for you're going to say, I'm going to do it for a month. So start again tomorrow, that promise. Start the diet again like you never did it yesterday, today. Because if you do everything like you never did it before, then you're always going to have that initial thing that gives you that energy in the beginning. Now you're going to say, yeah, but that's just the beginning thing. That's right. But Rabbi Nachman teaches everything is always the beginning. It's just we're not connected to that. So if you can change your consciousness, if you can work on getting to understand that it's always new. Now we're in exile. What does exile mean? It means our consciousness is in exile. It means our ability to experience reality as it really is sleeping. It's not our fault. It's nobody's fault. This is just the situation. So when you understand, though, that Hashem is recreating the universe at every moment, that it wasn't a nice thing that the Torah says, it's a reality. Even in quantum physics, I remember when I was in the psych ward and I was having when I hit the bottom of the bottom of the bottom and almost didn't make it, I was still learning all of Rabbi Nachman's teachings while I was there because it was the only thing that was keeping me going. And I had people coming up to me how are you reading right now? You're depressed. We're all loafing out over here and you're reading books and stuff. And I'm this is the only thing keeping me alive. I don't know how to explain it. So it can teach me something in the book. I was okay. So, I said that the Torah teaches that the world is constantly recreated at every moment. So it's not Rabbi Nachman's teaching. That's the actual reality. So if you tap into that reality, so then you're going to be very happy. Not because you got yourself into a psyched up mode and now you can do everything with a lot of energy, because that's real. Whatever we're doing is not real. Does everybody understand that point? I just want to make sure before I move forward. Okay, good. Right now I'm teaching. I've been teaching now for years. Before that, I was a substance abuse counselor. Before that, I was a clinical therapist and a social worker. Okay. So I've been teaching and talking to people for a long time. Before that, I used to volunteer in the suicide hotline. It goes all the way back since I was a little kid. Okay. I've never taught before. This is the only time I've ever taught in my life, because that was a different world. I'm not the same person today that I was then. I'm a completely different person. My mind is different. My perception is different. My experience is different. Everything is new. So why do I always feel, or why do we always feel like, no, this is just another night I'm teaching? Because our mind is sleeping. Our consciousness is in exile. That's the galut. When we have redemption, everything will only be like the beginning, because that's the only real thing that there is. Time is a product of our limited consciousness. If you ever notice that when you're feeling happy, time goes by really quick, you ever notice that? Nobody? Nobody's shaking their head. You can shake your head, it's okay. Okay, so what are you going to say? They're going to tell you it's because that's what happens when you have fun. You just don't notice the time. So Rabbi Nachman says, not that, it's much deeper. When you're having fun, it's real. And when it's real, you don't notice time. The more real it is, the less you notice the time. So for instance, he gives an example. How do we know that's true? That sounds awesome, but like, how do we know it's true? So when you have a dream, okay, let's say you woke up, you had a dream. And in the dream, how long does it feel, that dream? It could be like hours. And it could be a very scary dream, right? But and if someone came to you in that dream and asked you, how long have you been doing this? You would swear on your life, I've been doing this for years. True?
Yeah.
And you never had a dream like that you felt like you were dreaming for a long time? And you know how long you were dreaming? A few seconds. So you woke up, and then you realized it was a dream. So why do you realize now it was only a few seconds, but while you were dreaming felt like it was hours? Because you were sleeping. Why did Hashem make it like that? Because that's a reality while you're awake as well. You could still be sleeping while you're awake. And it feels like it's for hours. But when you're awake, time flies by like this. The more awake you are, the faster time is going to go. So I explained this to this girl in the psych ward. And she told me, you know that quantum physics has like already proven that. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, so the way quantum physics work, and she's explaining it to me. And then she tells me that from the perspective of quantum mechanics, and I guess this is like the most like cutting edge, this and like something else, the most we know about science and the world and the universe, that from the perspective of quantum, the world is actually coming into and out of existence at every single moment. They can actually see that. Like, and he says that she's told me it looks like an eye that's blinking. That every single moment, it's brand new. And I was like, oh my gosh, the Torah said that thousands of years ago. And we read it, we're like, Maaseh Bereshit Tamid, you know, Hashem's recreating the world at every moment. That's awesome, you know? But no, it's like actually happening. It's a new moment, this is a new world, this is a new world, this is new. Okay? So if you can connect to that, then you'll always be excited. You'll always have energy. You'll always be joyful. You'll always feel peace, because it's the beginning. So what did Rabbi Nachman say to do? Start over again. How often should you start over again? All day. What does it mean start over again? Like I never did anything before. What if I just got into a fight with my parents? Start over again. It doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, but I have to think about it, and no, that was like a different world. It was a completely different world. We're in a new world now. Imagine if you took that with you. What's going to happen? You're going to be sad. You're going to be angry. You're going to be confused. You're going to contemplate this for days, for weeks, for hours, for months, for years. Do you know why it's taking so long? Because we're sleeping. We're not actually awake. But when you're awake, you'll look back and go, it was like 3 seconds. Does everybody understand that? Okay. So Tehillim works the same way, and the Torah works the same way. In the beginning of Tehillim, the first chapter, everything is included in that because it's the beginning. In the beginning of the Torah, when it says Maseh, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz, in the beginning Hashem created the heavens and the earth. So that means that everything is included in that first sentence in the Torah. It has to be, because it's the beginning. The beginning always includes the beginning and the middle and the end. It's like a seed, right? You put a seed in the ground. What happens to that seed? It's going to decompose, and the plant is going to come out. How does it do that? Because it's in the DNA of the seed to do that. It's already in the seed. It's just revealing itself. But it's already in the seed. Okay? Maseh Bereshit, when Hashem created the universe, that was a seed. Ever since then, until Mashiach comes, this is just a revelation of that seed. Nothing's new in that sense. It's all just a revelation of what was in the beginning. So, Maseh Bereshit, how do we see that everything is in there? So the Vilna Gaon says it's not only all in the first sentence, it's even in the first word, Bereshit. There's a whole book called Tikkuni Zohar. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this. The Zohar is Jewish mysticism. And then you have Tikkuni Zohar. Tikkuni Zohar is where they take the deepest teachings in the world and they revolve them all to explain the first word in the Torah. The whole book is just in the first word. All the different permutations of the letters of the word and how it shows different realities about the world because everything's included in the beginning, in the first. What does Bereshit mean? Bereshit, in the beginning. Okay, great. So everything in the world is in that first word. Now, Vilna Gaon says, but if that's the case, so it really should be in the first letter. And it is. Vilna Gaon says everything is included in that first letter. But if that's the case, then you can probably go even deeper, no? Where's the beginning of that first letter? It's the dot in the middle. There's a dot in the middle of the bet. Bereshit. What's that dot? It's the seed. Everything is included in that seed. Everything since then has been revealing what's in that seed. Every book in the Torah works like that. Everything is in the beginning. So that first chapter that we did, you should go back and listen because no matter what we're going to learn from now on, it's just going to be amplifying and revealing what we learned in that first chapter together. So if you haven't, you should go back and listen. Now, the second one that we're doing together, we're talking about Mashiach. And you need to know that every single one of us has a spark of Mashiach inside of us. What does that mean? It means that you have redemption within you. You don't need to go somewhere to achieve your own personal redemption from your difficulties, from your challenges, from your traumas, from your anxieties, from your fears. It's all inside of you, your ability to do that. How do we know that? Because Mashiach is a soul which encompasses all of those sparks of us. Meaning if you take that part of you and 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 all of the Jewish people and you put it into one person, he's the Mashiach. But you have that inside of you. How do you reveal the Mashiach inside of you? How do you reveal anything that's inside of you? What do you guys think? Why?
Because you look deeper into what's happening. You don't just take it on face value. You really connect.
Okay, what do you guys think? Do you guys know what Hibodit is? What do you guys think?
It makes sense.
What makes sense?
When you talk, you're able to kind of clarify your thoughts. If you're not holding everything bottled inside, you're speaking it out.
Yeah. Do you ever notice that when you talk to your friends and you tell them what's going on, you feel better after? Okay, why is that? Yeah, but what are they going to tell you it is? Because you have a friend to talk to. Maybe it's just because you're saying it. I have a really big theory on this. We'll see. There was Sigmund Freud. I went to school for psychology before I went for social work. So I learned all about Freud, and I was fascinated by him, all of his theories and the subconscious and everything. I loved it. Oh my gosh. I found out afterwards that he actually used to learn Kabbalah and stuff. I don't think he told anybody that, but You can see a lot of it in there. So what was the first thing Freud did before he made psychotherapy famous? That you go and see a therapist. So people now, like in America on the East and West Coast, it's like, hey, what are you doing today? I'm going to hang with my friends. I'm going to go see my therapist. Like that was never the case before Sigmund Freud, okay? And even when Freud came out, nobody was like a fan of this. Nobody thought he was, okay. So I found out, what did Freud do? He first used to work with women only, okay? They were called hysterical women. There used to be a disease, sorry, that is called hysteria, okay? It was a psychological disease. And apparently only women had it. And you guys have experienced it? No. I'm just making sure. It's cool if you did. I won't tell you. Actually, that. Hysteria. So what would happen? Probably their husbands would send them to Freud, and then Freud would be like, my wife's hysterical, and then he would bring them into a room. And they also believed they were sick because people were telling them they were sick. And this is how the world works, by the way. And it's no different now when you go see doctors and they say that you're sick. It's the same thing. Okay. So now you're sitting and what did he have them do? He says, I want you to talk to this wall. He made a completely blank wall, so that there's only white. I want you to talk to this blank wall for 60 minutes, for an hour. Unbelievable, no? For an hour. And they all got better. They all became less hysterical. Meaning, that wasn't a real thing, but obviously they were troubled, probably because everybody was saying they were hysterical. But whatever was the trouble that was going on with them, they were troubled because of society, because of family, because there was no progression in the way that people were thinking about reality. Okay, whatever it was. But what made them feel better is they talked to the wall for an hour. So then what did he go do from there? Then he sat down and spoke with them. But he wouldn't respond to them. He didn't talk back. You had to talk, and he just sat there. Now, it eventually turned into... One second, sorry. It eventually turned into that they would speak to you as well. However, it was just as effective, like when Freud never talked back. So what's so great about therapy? So when I went to social work school, they said it's about the relationship. That in the end, they did statistics and they showed what is it that helps people feel that they got better, if they got better. And more than anything by far, it was the relationship. So I want to take both. What does Rabbi Nachman say to do every single day? That you have to do if you're a Jewish person. You have to take 60 minutes from your day, at the least, and talk to Hashem, so you get the talking part, like he's your best friend. Interesting, no? And he would say it all the time, because he'd be like, what are you talking about? Well, I talk about him like he's the king, and he's like, or let's say I don't even believe in him, and then they do this. Yeah, he said, I want you, not when you, for the rest of the time, but when you talk to Hashem and Hippolyte, you need to talk to Hashem like he is your best friend. Now, what's the interesting thing? That Hibodedut, he says, is the highest thing that we have. Any Jew has. Higher than Torah, higher than Tefillah, higher than Tshuva. I don't know if you guys know what these terms mean. If you don't, please let me know. Higher than anything. Now, in terms of Kabbalah, there's different levels of consciousness, okay? The highest one is called Keter. Keter is not subconscious, it's superconscious. What does it mean? What's the difference between conscious, subconscious, and superconscious? Conscious means that's how you're always experiencing your life. That's my consciousness. That's how, wherever I'm experiencing it. If I'm mad, that's my consciousness. If I'm sad, that's my consciousness. If I'm happy, that's okay. What is this subconscious? This is what Freud was trying to get into. That you actually have feelings that are going on inside of you that are actually causing those conscious feelings. And you're not conscious of those things. Does everybody understand that part? I don't want to continue because then it's not... Okay, again. I'm angry. I'm furious right now. So he revealed that there's a subconscious, that actually you have feelings going on inside of you. You have thoughts that are going on inside your mind that you're not tapped into, that are as real, if not more real than your conscious feelings, your anger. And they're actually the cause of your anger. Everybody understand that? Okay. However, Kabbalah goes a step further. It's probably where I got it from to begin with. And he says you have something that's even above subconscious. That's called superconscious. Meaning you have something that's above understanding. It's something that you can't even tap into. And that's actually what's causing your subconscious thoughts. And that's actually what's causing your conscious thoughts. So all is starting in superconscious. Every single Friday night, we sing Eshet Chayil. It's talking about the strong Jewish woman. Shabbat is the most important day of the week. It's a female day. Everybody agrees. Nobody says it's not that, okay? It is a female day. Because we go inward. We're not going out. Spiritually, to go out is male. Doesn't mean that women can't do that. It means when they do, it's called spiritually male, and when they go in, it's called female. Shabbat, we go in. We stop physically trying to do things, and we just experience whatever we did in a deeper way. That's female. Shabbat is the goal of existence, to get to a place that we're able to experience in a deep way everything that we try to do physically. Okay? Now in Shabbat, the first thing that we sing, after we sing Shalom Aleichem, is Eshet Chayil, the amazing Jewish woman. So what's the simple understanding? She prepared everything for Shabbat. Which is definitely not always the case, especially in our generation anymore. But how could it be that the sages would put something in that wouldn't always be the case? If now that there's men who are doing more to prepare for Shabbat, then why are we still singing about this, the amazing Jewish woman? And the answer is, we're talking about Shabbat. Shabbat is that beautiful Jewish woman. And we say in the song that she is the crown on her husband's head. So why is she the crown on her husband's head? So the way it simply sounds is, I don't know, he loves her, so he keeps her in very high regard, so he has like a crown. It's deeper than that. The man represents that I'm consciously understanding something. This is, by the way, men in general usually think. They think with intellect. It doesn't mean they don't have emotions. They have emotions. They have female aspects to their soul. So please don't take one thing and just stick it away. Everyone has everything, but they're more connected to that. Women, their thinking is super conscious. It's a crown that's on top of their head. It's not just that the crown is like you wear a crown, but why is it on top of the head? Because it's above the mind. You ever notice how sometimes women are able to intuit things, but men are not? Do you ever notice your mom knew things that your husband, your dad definitely was not aware of at all? Okay. So where is that coming from? Because Jewish women have a consciousness that's super conscious. That's the Keter. What's the only practice that every Jewish person can do on a daily basis that you're guaranteed to connect to that level, not just every day? Hipodid. What are you doing in Hipodid? You're talking to the air. Shem, I think you're here. I hope you're here. Please, God, I hope you're here. Because my life is really hard and I want it to get better. I'm hearing from this person, David, that this works. And Rabbi Nachman says, trying so hard. But there's a part of you that if you could take away your fears, if you could take away your doubts, if you could take away everything, you believe that Hashem hears you. You just believe that. Everyone, if you could strip away everything, feels that there's somewhere, something, that hears them. When you do hibodedut in the beginning, it's really weird because nobody does that. But that's because everybody's sleeping. But if you talk to Hashem every single day, you're tapping into the crown that's on the head. It's like Shabbat for you even before you get there. Because what happens on Shabbat? You don't have to physically work anymore. I don't have to toil. Whatever I did, this is what it is. Now I can just look deep. We have a mitzvah from the Torah that you have to remember the Shabbat every day. What does that usually mean? That when you see something that's really nice, don't eat it now. Save it for Shabbat. If you have a beautiful dress, don't wear it now. Wait for Shabbat. Wear your nicest stuff on Shabbat. Eat your tastiest stuff on Shabbat. Save it for Shabbat. Okay. So Rabbi Nachman says something unbelievable. What does it mean to remember the Shabbat? It means to remember means to bring it into your reality. When you remember something, now it's on your mind. That means it's real for you now. So how do you remember the Shabbat? By talking to Hashem. It's like you created an hour of Shabbat. Either you guys are really connecting to what I'm saying, or you're not understanding, and it's okay if you don't. But I want to make sure because I don't want to overwhelm. Is there? Yeah. What? Yeah, go ahead. You do it more easily, naturally. Yeah, it's even higher than Bina. Yeah, so Bina is also. It says in the Midrash that women have an extra. Extra sense of Bina. Bina is also above consciousness. It's something that's more connected to women. But I'm telling you something that like very few people talk about or know, and that there's even a higher consciousness than that. It's called Keter, because whatever, and that's not even above nature. It's you can't even quantify it at that point. You can't even say anything about it because there's no description for it at that point.
So like if women have it, women don't have it.
They have it. It's just they're not naturally connected to it.
Yes, so the question is that if you think women are naturally
connected, they could more naturally be connected. It's like a women's intuition, but it's that, like, for instance, it says there that the redemption of the Jewish people is going to come in the merit of women. Where do they learn that from? Because every single time that the Jewish people went through horrors, it was the Jewish women who saved us every single time. And even in the times that you thought it was the men, like let's say in the story of the Greeks, it doesn't sound like there's anything that happened with women. It sounds like the Kohanim, Marasyahu, and all of them, like just like got the Jewish people amped up and like got them to like remember God, and they were able to like overcome something that was much bigger than them. However, it's clear from the sages that there was an act that happened first with a Jewish woman named Yehudit, and she caused the whole thing. Every single time. Even with the Jews in Mitzrayim, when we were in Egypt, we were enslaved. Even though Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe was the Redeemer, it was because of Miriam that he even lived. Why? Because she believed in redemption. Do you guys know that story? So I'll tell you a little bit because it's a beautiful story, okay? Miriam was the oldest of the three children. Well, Aaron, Miriam. And her and her brother were born already, her and Aaron. Her father was an amazing human being. His name was Amram, and he was one of the greatest people, if not the greatest person of the generation. I'm not talking about like physically, I'm talking spiritually. He's very great. Their mother's name was Yocheved. She was also very, very special and very great. And when Paro, who was like, let's call him Hitler, for if you don't like, he said that we are going to kill all the firstborn children because we have to get rid of the Jews. They came to our country. They ended up doing everything like better than all of us. And now they're a threat to us. They were good in the beginning because they helped us make money. This story has repeated itself a million times over throughout the history. And now they're a threat to us. So we have to get rid of them. How are we going to do that? We know that the Jewish people say they have a tradition that they're going to be in exile and they're going to be redeemed. So that means that somebody needs to redeem them. So what's the tradition? That it was a man who would end up being Moshe. And they were right. So what did he do? He decided to take all Jewish boys that were born and throw them in the Nile River and have them suffocate. Okay. So what did Amram do? Because the Torah says that life precedes everything. When it comes to mitzvot, if you're going to die, you don't do the mitzvah. Because life is more important to Hashem than the mitzvah. There's three things that it's not the case, but in general, that's the case. If your life is on the line and you have non-kosher food in front of you, let's say you even eat kosher, okay? And someone says to you, eat this cheeseburger or I'm going to kill you. You have to eat the cheeseburger. You have to, because you're going to die, okay? So Hashem wants you to live. He doesn't want you to die. So you eat the cheeseburger. Okay, good. So Amram said, because he was the leader of the generation, all men should not be intimate with their wives, because you're going to have children, they might be boys, and those kids are going to die. So his daughter came up to him and told him, yeah, but then you're worse than Paro. She's like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, because you want to make sure that no boys die. But if you aren't with mom, then you're going to kill the boys and the girls. Does everybody understand that? He said, you're right. Why was she so certain? Because she believed in redemption. The sages teach because she and the whole family, she was the one who believed that no matter what was going on, even though they were in the middle of what was worse than a Holocaust, she believed it was going to get better. Where did she get that from? Where is that inside of her? Why was her father, who was not the greatest person in that generation, locked into that? Because she's tapped into something that's super conscious. Redemption. That even when the world doesn't look like it's good, even when my life looks horrible, even when everything has gone wrong, I still believe it can get better. That is super conscious. That doesn't make sense. Jewish women are more naturally connected to that reality. Okay? Now, then what happened? So they got back together and they had a boy. Oh, they had a boy. They actually named him Tuvia. A lot of people don't know that. His name was Tuvia. And eventually they put Tuvia, the mother was scared that they were going to get him. And they were going into people's houses and trying to see if the Jewish people had boys. And if they saw a boy, and they would cause them to cry. And because they like in the camps, that they would hide the kids even in non-Jewish homes or whatever. So they were hiding their kids when they had kids, so the Egyptians wouldn't hear when they came in. So what would the Egyptians do? Paro had them make them scream or do something so that the kids would cry, so you know that they were in there. And just on a side note, it's amazing. The Midrash says that how are you going to know because the kid cried he might be the Redeemer? Because he could cry. That if you have a boy at a young age who could cry because of his pain, it must be he's very sensitive. He might be the Redeemer of the Jewish people. This is an unbelievable thing. I remember when I read it, I just started crying because it's just so unbelievable. So anyway, so they took Moshe, who was Tuvia, and they put him in the river, and they floated him down. And Miriam watched from afar. That's what the Torah says. Torah literally explicitly said that Miriam watched from afar. It didn't say the parents watched from afar. It didn't say that Aaron watched from afar. It said Miriam was watching from afar. Why was she watching from afar? Because she knew that Moshe was going to bring redemption. She believed in redemption. So because of that, she was watching and waiting for it through the whole thing. And because she was watching and waiting for it, then when Batya, who was an Egyptian woman, found Moshe and named him Moshe, which in Egyptian means to draw out from the water, because she found him in the water. So Moshe, she drove him from the water. Miriam was there, and the what's it called, the Egyptian woman noticed that he was different, and Miriam said, "Yeah, he's a Jewish boy." So he said, "Yeah," and whatever. It was like a whole conversation. And then what ended up happening? His mother, their mother was Yocheved. She was a nurse. She was what do they call it? A nursing specialist. She used to, like, the Jewish women would bring their children to her when they were kids, and then she would nurse them. So she said, I don't know how to nurse a Jewish boy. I don't know if it's different, whatever. So Miriam said to her, there's a Jewish woman who's a nurse. You can bring it to her. She can nurse. And it was his mother. It's so beautiful, you know? He took her back, and then in the beginning of his life, she was nursing him the whole time. And then Moshe ended up going back and living with Batya and Paro and living in that home. Whatever. It's a long story. Beautiful story. So anyway, what's the point? The point is that the women are waiting for redemption. So that's the answer to your question. That make sense? Okay. Now, if a man is also waiting for redemption, it means he's tapped into that female part of himself. And if a man sees what's happening and he thinks this can't get better, or if a woman sees and says this can't get better, she's not tapped into that part of herself. She's not tapped into the highest female part of herself. She's looking at things like a man. So it's actually 10 o'clock. You guys, I think that was good. Does anyone have any questions about what we spoke about tonight?
Strictly about what we spoke about?
Or anything. Yeah, Tucker, ask me about anything.
Anyone?
If you want, I could also turn the recording off, or I don't mind if you want. Yeah, go.
You said that all the Jewish people are connected to Mashiach.
Yeah,
So what about like the Jewish dead people?
also.
So they're also they're still waiting for Mashiach.
Yeah, so they okay. So they are, science has proven that anything that lives never actually dies. Just in terms of like scientific laws. Anything that lives can't die. Anything that has energy, it just changes forms. Okay? So anybody who passes on from here, he doesn't die, he just, like energy, he just changes locations. So they're even more alive than they are here. So they're definitely all waiting for Mashiach to come. Rabbi Nachman has a whole beautiful Torah about there's this field. He says, da, you should know. In Russian, it means something else, right?
Da?
Yeah.
That means yes.
Yes. Okay, da. In Hebrew, it means you should know. It's both good. It connects. Da, you should know. There's a field. By the way, nobody writes Torahs. Nobody writes lessons like this. You never say, know that there's a field. This is how he starts the entire chapter. Oh my gosh, but like when I read this, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like I don't even know where this is going, but there's a field. I know that there's a field. Okay. There's a field. No, it's okay. There's a field. Great. What's on this field? He says there's many souls in this field. But they look like trees and grass. Not that type of grass. Grass from the field. And trees. And because the Zohar teaches that in Gan Eden, the souls of the Jewish people, some of them are like trees, some of them are like grass, some of them are whatever. That's also another reason why Rabbi Nachman says you should do it in the field. Because you also are like tapping back into Gan Eden. Okay? And there's a master of the field, he says. And this master of the field, he sees that outside of the field, there's many souls that are looking to get back into the field. And Rabbi Nachman says that there are many people who are really good people in this field, and they try and leave the field to go get those souls, but it's very hard for them to come back. it's only the master of the field who can go out and get those souls and bring them back. So in a sense, we're all those souls who are outside of the field. And the master of the field has actually, even before, since you're born into this world, has been trying to bring you back to the field. All of us. And that's the Mashiach. And we're all connected to him. He's all of us. We're all of him. So, and anytime that you experience redemption, B'ezrat Hashem, you should all experience personal redemption in your life, and we should all experience collective redemption. It means that the master of the field left the field for you and did everything that he possibly could to bring you back. Okay?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
In the last class that you gave, there was a question about the ups and downs and everything, and you said that Rabbi Nachman said that eventually it does end, right?
So Rabbi Nachman says eventually the ups and downs don't feel like the ups and downs that you're used to. Yeah. Like I can only tell you this because I experienced the change. I go really high and really low. Really low. And that was a lot of the cause of my challenges growing up. Not just growing up, like 5 seconds ago, but all up until then. And then something happened when I hit rock bottom. And I said to myself, you know what? The only thing that's keeping me going is Rabbi Nachman's teachings. And the only thing that's helping me now is the things that I do that Rabbi Nachman says. And I said, you know what? Maybe, if everything that I tried that he said works, maybe the things that I don't understand that he says to do that don't make sense to me at all, maybe they also work. And that's when I committed to start doing an hour a day, because I was learning it and I was just like, it was beautiful and it was giving me life force. But I wasn't doing the hour because it didn't make sense to me how I'm going to fit an hour into my day and how that's normal and whatever. And I just nullified myself. It's like, well, I'm not living. I'm going to be gone soon if I don't change something. And I'm just like, maybe I should try, the other things he says. And everything he says works. Everything he says works. So these ups and downs, he calls it running and returning. Yaakov Avinu, Jacob, he had a meditative experience and he saw a ladder that was reaching from this physical world up to the spiritual worlds. And there were spiritual forces that were going up and down the ladder, up and down the ladder. They called them malachim. Okay? In English, they'll call it angels. But I know for me, when I think of angels, I think of flying naked babies. And it gets me very confused because that's not what the Torah says. So I was very traumatized by my Jewish education. And actually, you should know, most secular Jews are really spiritual, really, really incredibly spiritual. And they don't realize that everything that they believe is actually very Jewish. And then when they hear the terms, we think about Christian things that we saw on TV or heard, and there's nothing to do with it. So I hope B'ezrat Hashem we should be able to show them that, because that's chaval. That's really a shame, because oh my gosh, I'm telling you, I talk to secular people all the time. I grew up secular. Everything they say is oh my gosh, this is you're so spiritual, you're they're like, no, but I don't believe in this. And I'm like, you're right. You're right. The Torah also doesn't believe in it. And there's this barrier, because it's just so threatening to think about something that's completely different than whatever you've invested in your whole life. I know, because I also did. But they were running and returning. They were going up and down. So Rabbi Nachman says, why was Yaakov seeing that? Why are we learning about it? Because our life is like that. You have two levels of experience. You're always going through one of these two types of experience. You're either running or you're returning. Running is things are going good. Things are going good. I feel happy. For some people, that going good, that happy can be really high. Some people could be even higher than that. Some people could be like, they don't need to sleep. Then you have some people, they have lows. You have to have lows, as they're saying. That's also, it's an equal experience. It's not better or worse than that high experience. It's equal. What do we think? We think, I just want to be high again. Either physically or like metaphorically or whatever it is. I just want to be high again. Meaning I want to feel good again. Yeah, it's true. Mike, you with me? I just want to feel good again. I don't like feeling bad. I want to feel good again. I don't feel good right now. I'm going to go get a coffee. That makes me feel better. I don't feel good right now. I'm going to go for a run. I don't feel good right now. I'm going to take a nap. And then hopefully when I get up, I'll feel better. That's the way we think, because the world teaches us that when you feel good, it is good. Is that true? If you all got up right now and you tripped, chas v'shalom, and you all sprained your ankles. So first of all, don't tell anybody that happened, because nobody's going to come back to the class. They're going to think this, especially Bukharians, you guys are very into like, what is it called? Hispandut, like weird, like, okay, whatever. So, but let's say you all sprained your ankles. What would you think? What would be your first reaction? Ow, and then what? Okay, good. What would your first reaction be? This sucks. What would you say? This sucks. What would you say? Why? What would you say? Okay. Sorry. It was great. Yeah, I know. I would also be, but like, let's say you just sprained your ankle. I just kind of meant like everybody, you sprained it simultaneously, but not knowing that everyone else sprained it. Okay, so now you sprained your ankle. What would you think after you sprained your ankle? Yeah, there's something wrong with me. Good. What would you say? You'd be mad. Good. That makes sense. Okay. What did you say again? It sucks. Okay. How long do you think that would last? How long? No, but the sprain's gonna last for days. You're gonna have to walk. Like maybe you're going to work. It would last 2 seconds. Okay, and then you'd be over it. Okay, good. How long would that suck? You said it sucks, right? How long would that last for you? How? You wouldn't think when you go to work, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I sprained my ankle. I could have just like took a better step or nothing. Okay, good. What about you? Yeah. How long would you be upset for? Good. So that could be weeks. That could be months. Okay, good. What about you? How long? Few minutes. And then it would never bother you again the next few days, no matter what happened. Meaning like now you have to get somewhere. You can't now because you're moving slow because of your thing. You come late to work. Now you come late to work. Your boss is mad at you, but it's not your fault, but you sprained your ankle. But you think it's your fault because you tripped. So that you're never going to have any of that? Okay, even the normal frustration. I want you guys are with me. Okay, now let's go back. Normal frustration. Would you have normal frustration? How much normal frustration would you have? Okay, good. How just besides would you have any normal frustration? You're upset the whole time. How long would you have normal frustration for? A few minutes. How about you? Just that day. It would never come up again, no matter if it's done. Okay, good. When you sprain your ankle, it hurts for a longer period. Why'd you ever stress over anything? No, I'm asking you a real question. So I'm asking you, in your life, have you ever stressed over anything past the moment that it happened? Why? You just said that it's over. Are you serious? Wow, you're perfect for this class. Good for you. Okay, good. You're stressed, right? You're gonna be stressed. Yeah. Okay. And you no stress? No. You be stressed too?
deserve it.
I deserve it. Thank you. Good. Okay. So you're all wrong. You're all wrong. I'm also wrong. I'm included. Don't worry, I'm not. That was the best thing that could have happened to you. It was the best thing that could have ever happened to you is that you sprained your ankle. Why is that?
Because it could have been worse.
No.
No?
Okay. What else?
It's too complicated.
This is too complicated?
I mean, like why is it the best?
Why is this good? What?
Yeah, how is it to know why bad things are good?
Yeah, okay, good. What about you?
It's just here to happen for me.
Okay.
That's not.
Yeah, and what about you?
What was the question?
The question is.
No, I think it's what?
Why don't you just.
Why was it good?
Yeah, why was it good?
Maybe if I didn't stop the trip that second, something else worse would have happened now.
Okay, good. I'm going to tell you why it's good. You ready? Because Hashem wanted it to happen. Okay, but wait. This way. You're a genius, by the way.
See, that's very nice. We're talking about it. That means where's our the hero? Where does it fit in?
Your Behira is, do I recognize if that was good for me or not?
That's it.
That's it. That's a Pell, right? That's a wonder.
We're failing it. That seemed like.
You know why we're failing? Only because we think that everything else is in our control. Did everybody understand that? Yes? Again, you tripped. What are you taught? Or what are you thinking? I'm clumsy. What's wrong with me? Here we go again. You know, the whole thing. Or maybe not. Maybe you're just like, whatever, this sucked or whatever you said. Okay. Why do you feel that you're at fault for that? Why do you feel that that's your fault? Yeah. And that's a lie. That's not true. So now, imagine you sprained your ankle and you understood that it could only be whatever Hashem wanted. And everything that Hashem wants is, I'm not saying you believe this, but let's say you did. Everything is from Hashem. This is from Hashem. This is for the best. This is only to bring me closer to Him, and He's the only good that there is. So now if you felt like that, and you realize you're not in control of the physical thing that took place, would you be upset? Would you be upset? Would you say, this is a punishment for me?
I thought we would.
Okay. But if it's because Hashem loves you, it's only good, so then where's the punishment?
But don't we have to atone for our sins?
Okay. So there is a concept of kapara, but it's not probably like you learned it. I'm only saying that because there's if you guys get a chance to watch last night's class, you really should. I was supposed to teach something, and I just have had something inside of myself for years, and since I've been in this community, that I've held inside, and I said it. I think it might have been the truest thing I ever said publicly, and I think you guys should all watch it, and you should send it to everybody else that you know. I'm probably going to get killed for it. I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for it, but I don't really care.
It's on YouTube, right?
No, it's going to be Bezrat Hashem. The person who puts the videos on YouTube, he just had a baby, Baruch Hashem, like his first daughter. So I'm going to let him slide for not getting the videos up on time. And then when it comes, if it Bezrat Hashem, if it gets up, you should watch it. Hashem loves you.
What's the behavior choice?
So one.
The choice is whether to believe if it's good for me.
It's either that your free will is, do I have a munah? Do I believe that this is from Hashem, this is for my best, this is for my good, this is because Hashem loves me? Or do I not? That's your free will.
But there is a concept that sometimes you are like, I mean, everything Hashem has done is really good, but like, you sin. So you have to be cleansed for those sins. You're disordered that.
Okay.
So how do you not beat yourself up about things when you did it and sometimes you're punished for it?
What if you're wrong?
Okay, possible.
Not just possible. You know, it says in the Gemara that David, you guys know King David? So he's the soul of Mashiach. And everything about David is going to be reincarnated again. So whatever David was like, we're going to have him again. He's the Mashiach. David had an affair with a woman who was not his wife, and she was somebody else's wife. And when he went out to war, he had an affair with her. Her name is Bathsheba. And everybody's like, how could David do that? There's nothing in the story of his life that leads you up to like that point. So the Gemara says, and you can't say Gemara is not true in the religious world. So it's like the Gemara says, David wasn't roy. He wasn't fitting to do that. Doesn't mean it wasn't fitting to do that. It wasn't even within him to do that. So how did that happen? Because Hashem wanted him to teach the world about tshuva. What does that mean? He wanted to teach you that you can get back up and start over again. So he caused David to fall in this way so that he can show everybody that no matter how low you fall, you can go all the way back up. The Gemara said. So imagine if David was, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Like, how did I do that? I was the king, and like I did everything I could my whole life to help people, and I just made this like crazy insane mistake. You could sit on that mistake the rest of your life. You could not function anymore. You could not be sane anymore. But he spent the rest of his life saving the Jewish people. How was he able to do that? Hashem wanted him to. Or maybe it's just David. Okay, but then the Gemara says, what about the Jewish people with the golden calf that we worshiped an idol? They said this is the worst sin in Jewish history, and that every sin that ever happened is included in that sin. So it says that they weren't roy, they weren't fitting to do that, meaning it wasn't within them to do that. So how did they do it? Because Hashem wanted them to teach the world about tshuva. Yeah. Yes.
And this one, my rabbi, I took a Holocaust class, and my rabbi said that why the Holocaust happened, because Hashem willed for it to happen, and somebody needed to carry it out, whether it was in that time or a later time, somebody needed to carry it out. And that person was Hitler. And he still, like, even though Hashem willed for it to happen, even though Hitler had to go through the action, he's still going to be punished. So is it the same thing with us? Like, let's say there's something we do, like a sin, like a very serious sin. I don't know, even the Torah talks about like people sinning and they're killed for it. So you're willing to do stuff like that, but do we still go through like cleansing in this world?
So yes, there is kapara. There is, it's like when you jump in a mikveh, you know, you have, like let's say, I know women have to clean first, but let's say you didn't, you just jumped in. So it would take off all the stuff that's on top of you, right? So there is such a concept that is what's happening in this world. But your ability to do that is dependent on your ability to be happy. How can you be happy if you're beating yourself up about everything? How can you do, I'll tell you like this. The Torah says you're not allowed to be sad. What do you mean I'm not allowed to be sad? How can I not be allowed to be sad? It's normal to be sad sometimes, no? So that's what we're taught. experience sadness my whole life. It's probably the emotion I experience more than any other emotion. How can you say you're not allowed to feel an emotion? The answer is because sadness isn't real. Doesn't mean you don't feel it. We feel it very intensely. But the reason why we feel it so intensely is because it's not real. A Jewish person's natural state is he's happy. If he's not happy, it's because he's thinking about things that are not true. Rabbi Nachman says, how do you know if what you're thinking about is real or not? Is it making you happy? If it's not making you happy, it's not real. Because the truth and joy always go together. How do you do tshuva? You'll notice, like, when you pray, when you do hipotaду, what do they usually suggest you do? And even the Gemara, they say, how should you pray? You should thank, and then you should ask Hashem for what you need. Why are you thanking first? So that you can recognize good. If you recognize good, what's the natural response to that? Happiness. Now you can ask Hashem for what you need. Why? Because if you ask him when you're not happy, then you're going to go even deeper into despair. But if you're happy, then you can ask him from a healthy place, and it's not going to cause you to lose yourself. Yeah? Like the Torah says, there's nothing as whole as a broken heart. But a broken heart and sadness are not the same thing. To have a broken heart is very healthy. To have a broken heart is the most beautiful thing in the world. What does it mean, like a broken heart? Let's say you have a friend and they're suffering tremendously, and you know they don't have to, but they just are not able to overcome whatever's going on with them. But you see from the outside that if they could change this thing, they would be so happy. That pain that you feel over them is called a broken heart. That's the most beautiful thing in the world. Now you take that to Hashem in your Bodhidut and you pray for that person. Because Rabbi Nachman says, what does it mean that the whole world was created for you? The Gemara says that the whole world was created for your sake alone. So it's a beautiful statement. It's amazing. For only you. Rabbi Nachman said, what does that mean? It means that if the whole world is created for you, it means you're responsible for it. How am I responsible for the whole world? I can barely take care of my own life. How am I responsible for the whole universe? And the answer is that Rabbi Nachman says that whenever you see a lacking in the world, you're responsible to pray to fill that lack. Whatever you saw today, it was only so that you can go back to Hashem and ask Hashem to fill that lack. You saw this person suffer. You see this homeless person. You see this person. He's sick. Why did I see that today? Why didn't I see that yesterday? Because today Hashem wants me to go ask him to help those people. So, remind me what I was talking about before that. Yeah, right before that. Yeah, sadness, good. How can you ask for things for other people when you're sad like that? You can't. You're too sad. And if you ask for other people for help while you're that sad, you just get sadder because you think something's really wrong, like really, really wrong. And then when you see things that are wrong or bad, then it looks even more wrong. And then it gets worse and worse and worse and worse until you think that there's nothing good in this world and everything is broken and everything is shattered and everything is... But it's not, you're just sad. And that's okay. So what's the key to being connected to tshuva? Meaning, how do I do kapara? How do I release myself of my darkness? I need to first be happy. Rabbi Nachman says, it's a mitzvah gedola. It's a very great mitzvah to be happy, to me all of the time.
What's happening? Like smile all the time? Like,
You tell me.
what is the absence of happiness? Is it sadness?
Yeah.
So if I'm not smiling, if I have like a sour face the whole day, that means I'm unhappy.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Who smiles the whole day? I don't see people smiling the whole day.
Everybody's sleeping. And that's why that's why we're all seeing therapists. That's why we're all in psychiatric meds. That's why because we're all sad. We feel dead. All of us feel like it's just dead. Everything is just dead. Yeah.
How do we know what bad choices we were led into and what bad choices we chose to do?
You have to ask Hashem. No, I'm telling you. Somebody asked me for advice today, like a very practical piece of advice. And my response to him was, I want you to go ask Hashem. He's like, but how am I going to know? How am I going to know what to do? I'm asking if I should go pray in a minyan in Brooklyn or if I should go learn Torah right now. I'm late for the minyan. Why am I going to ask Hashem? So am I asking him and then I'm going to go ask somebody else? Like, what how does this work? Benny was there with me. And Benny's like, no, the piece of advice he's giving you to your question is, what would be better? That was his question to me. What would be better for me right now? I already missed the time that you're supposed to pray, but I could still pray with the minyan if I go right now after the fact. Or I can learn Torah, which I really want to do, but I think I'm going to feel better if I go pray. But at the same time, I think maybe I should learn. So even though that's a very specific thing, this is us every single moment with everything in a different form. So what did I tell him? I said, what do you think you should do? So what do you mean? I'm asking you. And that's the whole point. I'm asking you the question. What should I do? I said, I just want to know, what do you think you should do? He said, I don't know. That's why I'm asking. So I said, okay, so let's put it aside for a second. And I want you to go ask Hashem. Just go ask Hashem. He goes, what do you mean? I'm already thinking about it. Like, so what, I'm going to go outside and like, I said, no, the words have to come out of your mouth. Say to Hashem, I don't know what is better for me, what's going to make me feel closer to you right now. If I go learn, if I go pray. Just go say it and see what happens. See if you feel an answer within you. You would be shocked that it could be that you know the answer to the question and it's already inside of you. And he goes, does that mean I can't ask anybody after that? I said, no. Then you can go and ask somebody. So he goes, does that mean that now that I asked that person after I asked Hashem, that's going to be the right answer? So I told him the right answer or the right choice is that you ask Hashem. That's all you can do. You understand? And now when you go to that person, you're just a person. So what are you going to do? You're going to ask me advice. You're going to give me some advice. How do I know if it's the right advice? I don't know. But I asked Hashem. I included Hashem in my decision. That was the right choice. It's not about making the right choice. We're just people.
That's the extent of our effort.
That's the extent of our free will. Now you can go to a person and ask them for help. And then you can take that piece of advice, say, Hashem, this person just told me this. I trust him. I don't know if he's right, but this is the best that I can do. Hashem, help it to be that I'm making the right choice. And if not, help it to be it's the right choice anyway, because I'm asking you for help. Does that make sense? When I come to teach these classes, do I know that the class is going to be good or not good? Do I know if I'm going to say the right thing or not the right thing? I hope I'm saying the right thing. I hope I'm saying the truth. You know, a person, I can easily come up and say, everything I'm telling you is the truth. You have to believe me. But I'm just a person. And I'm doing the best that I can. And I am learning as much as I can. And I am praying as much as I can. And I'm doing a lot of things the best that I can. But now I come to Hashem and I go to a field every day. And I cry to Hashem. I say to Hashem, Hashem, I can't see people suffer anymore. These are your children. Everybody's suffering. I'm thinking to myself, I have 3 children. Maybe I'm not the best parent, but like when I see my kids suffer, like I'm in a lot of pain. Imagine Hashem. how much pain he's in to see us suffer like that. So why aren't you doing anything about it? Can you help us? Can you give me the words in my mouth that are going to speak to each of their hearts? Because I don't know what they need and I don't know what they want. But help to be that everybody hears exactly what they need to hear to get closer to you. And if they ask me for advice or they ask me a question, I give them an answer. Help it to be that I give good advice. But if, let's say, I give bad advice, help it to be that it's good anyway. Make it good anyway. Make it work anyway. Because this is the best I can do. Does everybody think that that's bizarre? Does everybody think that's not normal? Does everybody think that's crazy? Okay.
Especially when we were told, like, the amount of effort that we ourselves have to put in is so much greater. They would say, oh, how much percent are you putting the effort? 90% or 10%? If you're putting 90% of the effort, then you fit 10% Hashem. But it seems over here, 100% is Hashem, and you're just talking to him. It seems so simple, but that's the thing. You know, you spoke a lot about your personal story, and now we know that you had to hit this rock bottom so low in order to.
That was me. That was just me. Not everybody has to do that.
Maybe, I'm saying, at what point does a person